You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. The way that SEC Football Media Days wraps up is with the annual release of the preseason all-conference teams and the media's projected order of finish. So just as a heads-up how it works, every credentialed media member at Media Days gets a ballot. And you're asked to select your order of finish in the West, your order of finish in the East, your overall champion, and then a first, second, and third team all-conference. And then at the end of Media Days, it's all released. Full disclosure, I did not submit a ballot. It wasn't a protest or anything. Some years I have, and some years I haven't. Quite honestly, I just forgot. We were trying to fly home yesterday, and yesterday was a whole travel fiasco all of itself, and I just forgot to submit my ballot. So if you go look at it, I'm just full disclosure, not that it would have made a giant difference on anything. I did not submit a ballot. I will tell you, though, what my order of finish would have been had I done it. Let's run through how the vote came out, though. No surprise at all. In the West, Alabama, far and away the winner to win the SEC West, followed by Texas A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss, LSU picked fifth, followed by Mississippi State, and Auburn picked seventh in the West. By the way it goes is it's like in reverse order. So you get 7 points for a first place vote, 6 for a second place vote, and so on. You understand. So that's how the voting is put together. So Alabama, a runaway winner in the West. Same with Georgia in the East. And that was sort of the consistent theme all week in Atlanta. Everybody knew, okay, we're going to pick Bama to win the West, and we're going to pick Georgia to win the East. Who's next? So A&M was the second place team by a distant margin in the West. Kentucky, number 2, behind Georgia in the East. So this is how it voted for the East. Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, 3rd, Florida, 4th, followed by South Carolina, and then Missouri and Vanderbilt bringing up the rear. The overall SEC champion projected winner was Alabama, again by a wide margin. Bama picked to win the league. In fact, 158 of 181 votes. And to put this kind of into perspective for you, that means there were 181 media members that cast ballots. There's roughly 1,000 credentialed media members at SEC Media Days, so 2/5 of the people there bothered to cast a ballot. So not even a majority of the people who showed up actually voted. But 158 votes for Alabama to win the overall league title. Georgia got 18 votes to win the league. South Carolina, 3. Texas A&M got a vote, and Vanderbilt got a vote. In part, that's one of the reasons why I never take this very seriously, because every year you have some jackleg who picks Vanderbilt to win the league. I don't know who it is. That person has never revealed him or herself. The ballots are confidential, so whatever. But if someone's out there actually giving Vanderbilt a first-place vote, it's hard to take it seriously. My takeaway, by the way, I told you I would share, and I tweeted this, I would share how I would have voted had I voted, although I didn't. Again, full disclosure. This is what my ballot would have looked like. I tweeted it a bit ago. If you care to go look. If not, it's just my opinion, which take it for what it's worth. Yours can be different, and that's quite all right. We're all just guessing at this point based on the information we have. My West order of finish would have been Bama, A&M, Ole Miss, LSU 4th, followed by Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Auburn. And I thought long and hard about putting Ole Miss second. And that was one of my big takeaways from SEC Media Days that I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to prior. But go look at Ole Miss's schedule. There is a really good chance that Ole Miss starts either 8-0 or 7-1. I don't know that I'm telling you that I think they're a national title contender or a contender to win the league or anything like that. I'm just telling you their schedule shapes up to be very beneficial, and that they're probably in a league where after Bama, I think the rest of the West cannibalizes itself. Ole Miss probably has the easiest path to end up on top of the rest of those schools in the West. As far as the East, like the media, I went Georgia and then Kentucky. I picked Florida third ahead of Tennessee. Then South Carolina, who I think is fascinating because of the Spencer Rattler component, followed by Missouri and Vandy bringing up the rear. So you go look at my tweet if you want to go. It's at Matt Moscona on Twitter if you want to go see it. But that's how I would have projected it had I cast a ballot. The other thing that I think was a lot of this was validating. Right? We have opinions. It's talking season. Everybody talks, and we have the talking points, whatever. But I think the way this played out was somewhat validating for the conversation that we've had around here. LSU picked fifth in the West by the media underscores a lot of the questions that people have about this LSU football team. You don't have a set starter at quarterback. You're replacing 4 starters from a bad offensive line. You don't have any proven running back. You have maybe the best offensive player in the conference outside of Bryce Young, with Kayshon Boutte, but who's going to be throwing him the football? I think your defensive line is really good, but who's going to replace Damone Clark's 135 tackles? You lost a lot in the secondary. Your 2 starting corners are now starting at other SEC schools, and Elias Ricks and Dwight McLaughlin. You added a lot of veteran transfers, but none of them have played together at LSU, so how do they all sort of gel? I mean, you just have a lot of questions. And when you're putting together these preseason polls, it's generally who has the least amount of questions against the most manageable schedule. And LSU has a really tough schedule and a ton of questions, which is why you weren't going to see them projected high or highly. And I think the all-SEC teams sort of validates that as well. So as I mentioned, the media is asked to pick a first, second, and third team all-SEC. On offense, among all 3, first, second, and third teams, LSU's got 1 player. You know who it is. It's Kayshon Boutte. He's picked first team all-SEC wide receiver. That is the only player on the preseason all-SEC team from LSU. Now, I'm not telling you that I think definitively that means LSU's offense isn't going to be any good. It just means they got a ton of questions on the offensive side of the ball, starting with who's your quarterback going to be and how's the offense going to function. So we'll figure that out in time. But the one thing you know is Kayshon Boutte is a stud, and it's a good place to start. Defensively, you had a first, second, and third teamer. B.J. Ojulari on the first team, Ollie Gay on the second team, and Mason Smith on the third team. So again, what we know, LSU's got a really good defensive line. And 3 really good players that are going to be highly regarded pro prospects when their time comes. But you don't know anything about the second or third levels of LSU's defense, and that's why you're not going to see any players honored there as such. One more thought quickly, and we talked about it during the week, but that B.J. Ojulari being first team All-SEC is, I think, why it was important for them to bring him. If you were with us on Monday when we talked about B.J. Ojulari, so often the guys who come to media days are honored and rewarded just because of the awareness. And for B.J. Ojulari, he's a guy that's a really good player that's played on really bad defenses the last 2 years. He had double-digit tackles for loss and 7 sacks a year ago. Well, nobody paid attention because LSU stunk. And this was an opportunity for people to be familiar with B.J. Ojulari. That's why you bring him to media days. Not because he's the best in front of a microphone or a camera. He's the most outspoken. But it's so people can be aware of him. Because if he has a double-digit sack season, you need people to be aware who he is so he can be up for things like All-America honors and national awards, which he is deserving of. So I was glad to see that rewarded there for B.J. Ojulari, and he has a great opportunity to prove it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.